Hi everybody, welcome back to Lost Genre Mother-in-Law Stories. One of the best solutions for a bad mother-in-law is having a strong and trustful relationship with your partner. Today, we're gonna see a lot of that. But before we begin, don't forget about Lost Genre AITA Daily, a channel dedicated exclusively to Am I the A-hole? Now let's get started with the first story. My story is tragic. I use the word tragic because I no longer have feelings of hatred toward my mother-in-law. I no longer have any feelings at all. She is out of my life. Well, about 99.99%. My mother-in-law couldn't help but be abusive towards me. She is that way with everyone around her. At this point, she has been divorced twice, lost a relationship of about 5 years, and has never had any friends. I have read about mothers-in-law whose children are their whole lives, which makes their sons and daughters-in-law miserable. Such is not the case for me. My mother-in-law cares for no one but herself. She does nothing to make her children happy. In fact, it is quite the opposite. Her toxic behavior keeps everyone unhappy all the time. What I couldn't understand is why no one said anything to her about it. My brother-in-law and his wife divorced because, in order to cope with the mother-in-law's behavior, my brother-in-law's wife reacted verbally to everything she did. Not to my mother-in-law. Mind you, that was not permitted under any circumstances. She would lash out at my brother-in-law for both the actions of my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law's inability to confront his mother. This went on for 10 years. Although she did attempt to separate after 5 years, she didn't follow through. They divorced 2 years ago. My brother-in-law has since remarried, and the cycle is starting all over again. I endured my mother-in-law for 5 years of marriage. I don't count the 5 years of dating beforehand because at that point, I do agree that his mother should have come first in his eyes. The difference between myself and my ex-sister-in-law is that after 5 years, I had a child. I could defend myself, but my child was incapable of doing so. It was time to make a stand. I may have to forgo my happiness with my husband, but I had to protect my child. I carefully wrapped a journal I had been keeping detailing the actions of my mother-in-law towards everyone, not just myself. It was very detailed. This has been my way of coping. I added a beautiful card which spoke of the love between a husband and wife and the wonder of marriage. In it, I wrote, "I am going away for this weekend to give you the space and time to read this book. Please read it thoroughly and carefully. Our future depends on it. It's time for us to be happy." With the package, I also added a confrontational and very detailed letter. In a perfect world, my husband would send this letter to his mother. It was a letter that would basically end with, "Change or be out of our lives." At the end of the weekend, I returned home, not knowing what I would find. I was scared to death. What I found was a bouquet of roses on the table with a card that read, "I love you and always will. P.S. I not only signed the letter, I mailed it." That was 5 years ago. Except for a few attempts to abuse my husband through cards, my mother-in-law is out of our lives. With every attempt, she only proves that she will not change. At the beginning of this story, I used the word tragic. This story is tragic because I am a mother who loves her children more than anything in the world. I cannot imagine not having them in my life. I cannot understand a mother who would rather be alone than have her family around her. I love my life. I have a great husband, 2 wonderful children, and a great life. I would love to be able to share this happiness with the person who gave birth to my wonderful husband, but she has ensured, by the person she chooses to be, that this cannot happen. Tragic. OP, you handled this fantastically, and your husband responded just how you were hoping he would. It's a good thing he did. Apparently your book was very clear, eye-opening for him, maybe if he was kind of like in the fog before that. But you've done great, so congratulations and all the best to you guys. It's a good thing that your mother-in-law is out of your life. It is tragic, but like you say, it's the person she chooses to be. Okay, and on that note, let's move on to the next story. When I dated dear husband and throughout our engagement, his mother and two sisters would constantly tell him things about different topics, and at the end of every one of these conversations, they would say things like, "Don't tell anyone about what we talked about." Most times, they would say that and leave it at that. But there are other times when they actually go as far as to say to my fiance, "Don't tell your girlfriend what we talked about." After we became engaged, they were rude about that subject of them having private talks with dear husband. It was almost like they wanted to flaunt their relationship with him and prove that I was excluded. Fortunately, it went mostly just one way, where they thought they had some special privilege to this, but dear husband was annoyed at it and would tell me everything. He even forwarded to me the emails they were sending him. He was very upset with their behavior and was turning to me to talk about it. Unfortunately, a lot of the emails were about me. I had always been so nice to my sisters-in-law, but they apparently didn't want me at certain family events. They just wanted their brother alone. So they sent awful emails to him about how I wasn't guaranteed, but they were. About how they were blood, about how he'd better not ignore them, cause they wouldn't forget it when things don't work out with me, etc. Dear husband always CC'd me when he replied to them, and he addressed their immature behavior and told them to get with the program because he loved me, was going to marry me, and they'd better cut it out. Well, I also confronted them about it, and they were so angry. They said all of that was between us and our brother, not you. I quickly pointed out to them that we were going to be husband and wife very shortly, and they'd better get used to us sharing everything. I pointed out that when he is upset, he turns to me, and they upset him. And that is what husbands and wives do. They comfort each other when one is upset. If we couldn't do that for each other, then we would probably have no business getting married. Similar events happened with my mother-in-law as well, where she attempted to have some private relationship with dear husband. He usually told me everything they talked about, and I'd casually bring it up in conversation, very lightheartedly for a few seconds. Then I changed the subject quickly, just to let her know that he shared it with me. Anyway, we've been married for 2 years now, and they've seemed to accept that anything they tell him will most likely fall on my ears. It's tough though. I think in the very early stages of our relationship, even though it upset him, my dear husband wasn't sure if he should or should not be having private relationships and talks with his mom or sisters about stuff that he couldn't share with me. They tried to convince him that he should. Very shortly after we married, he didn't think about it twice. He seemed to just know that it wasn't right. Thankfully, it didn't take them too long to understand that there were no secrets in our relationship and that we fully trusted each other. So their efforts have died down. Although every once in a while they'll take another shot, but we shut them down quite quickly. Well, OP, in my opinion, that's one of the secrets to success in a relationship. No secrets. Yes, of course you can have tiny secrets like, a birthday surprise party or something like that, sure. And the fact that you would tell your partner everything doesn't mean that you're controlled. You expect them to tell you everything too. It is a two-way street, of course, and that is trust. And like I've said before, trust is one of the 3 things that can hold up a relationship. Trust, admiration, and chemistry. Alright, now on that note, let's move on to the next story. She called my husband's cell and woke us up the other day about an hour earlier than our alarm clock. I was wondering who had died, but dear husband said her first words were, "Why don't you respect me?" I went and took a shower. When I got out, I could hear dear husband saying things like, "Please don't do this," and "Could you listen to me a moment?" etc. At least he wasn't crying this time. A lot of the time, he does cry when she calls. She even calls him at work. I have gotten to the point where I dread hearing her voice on the line. She rips into him and drags up things that should have been buried 20 years ago. She calls here a lot too. I want to pull the plug on the phone sometimes, but I don't because that would make dear husband more upset and that would send her through the roof. She says things like, "I would have divorced your father 18 years ago if I hadn't had you," and "You need to make me a part of your life." etc. God, the things she says. I don't want to go over to her house anymore. I like my father-in-law a lot. However, it would kill dear husband not to see him. The last time we were there, she ranted and raved at both of them for 3 hours, telling them how awful they were and how much she wanted to kill herself, but she wouldn't because she loves dear husband so much, and how much she wants to see her grandchildren before she dies. We're child-free, and she has no other children. We finally left to go somewhere. I had to sit in the front seat because she had to sit next to dear husband. But she beat father-in-law out the entire way. I felt like backhanding her. She has this awful screeching voice and it was right in my ear. But the worst thing is the way she treats dear husband. She tells him he's fat, crazy, and stupid. And she also says he is just like her, meaning whatever great trait she possesses that she's describing at the moment. He's not like her. He's wonderful. I love my dear husband more than anything on this earth, and the more she complains to him and about him, the more I wish she would take a few too many pills. I'm not a vindictive person usually, and it horrifies me to say that. That's one of the ways she gets people to care about her, to threaten to end her life. She also tells them that she loves them so much and that she stayed with father-in-law, ruining her life forever. She could have done something with her life. If she had, she wouldn't be so miserable. If only she hadn't had dear husband and loved him so much the way she does. The other usual daughter-in-law things also apply here. She monopolizes dear husband whenever she sees him. She contradicts everything I say. She talks over me. She's extremely nosy. She gives me stupid gifts. She's rude. She's jealous of my parents and so much more. But I could deal with all that if she didn't treat my dear husband like excrement and call it love. I wish I could hang up whenever she calls. I wish I could say that I don't ever want to set foot in her house again. And I wish I could take back every hurtful thing she has ever said to dear husband. But I can't. However, no matter how bleak things may seem, there is a line at the end of the tunnel. My dear husband has been going to a therapist to work on what his mother has done to him and to be able to better tolerate or ignore her hate-love attacks. This is not your run-of-the-mill mother-in-law. This woman is a demon, and with the therapist's help and my support, dear husband will be able to stand up to her and be free. Alright OP, well, the best to the both of you. At least your dear husband understands that his mother is a horrible human being. That is psychological torture this guy grew up with. Imagine telling a kid his whole life that he's crap, he's worthless, he sucks, blah blah blah. And at the same time that you love him more than anything else in the world. That alone is enough to drive anybody crazy, low self-esteem and completely clingy to his mother. But this guy's putting in the work, and the way OP talks about him, it's like he's not a spineless little dweeb. This guy wants to get out from under his mother's thumb, and that's great. So here's wishing the best to both of you, OP. Alright, and we've reached the end of the video. Once again, I truly hope you liked it. If you did, go ahead and click like. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit subscribe. You like this content, become a part of this community. Also, don't forget about my new channel, Lost Genre AITA Daily. There's a link in the description. And finally, go ahead and visit the Lost Genre subreddit where you can cross-post stories from other subs for me to feature in videos or share your own story if you feel comfortable with that. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.